They called it a protein bomb, though at first glance, it looks like nothing more than a gentle green leaf. Picture a vegetable, tender and soft enough to wilt in seconds under hot oil, yet so densely packed with amino acids that, gram for gram, half of its calories come from protein. Now imagine that the same humble leaf was once credited with giving a cartoon sailor the strength to lift battleships, and that for decades people believed it contained more iron than a slab of beef. Behind the emerald sheen of a spinach leaf lies a tangled story of science, myth, and global transformation. Could a simple plant be the answer to some of the world's protein challenges? Or are we fooling ourselves? Our story begins in what is now Iran. More than a millennium ago, farmers along the ancient Silk Road cultivated spinach, a relative of beets and chard, as a cool season crop. From Persia, it traveled east to China, where it earned the name Persian vegetable. By the 8th century, it appeared in Arab cookery and later crossed the Mediterranean into Europe, eventually becoming a fixture on aristocratic tables in Florence and Paris. By the 17th century, the leaf had migrated to the New World. Throughout its journey, spinach adapted to diverse soils and climates, rewarding farmers with astonishingly fast growth. Plant it in March, and by April, you can harvest a crop. Plant again in August, and a second crop appears in October. In South Africa's Highveld today, irrigated fields can yield up to 30 tons per hectare in a season, a volume unheard of for most leafy vegetables. Yet what sets spinach apart isn't simply its resilience or productivity. It's the extraordinary mix of nutrients it carries. By weight, spinach is almost 91% water. Strip that moisture away, and what remains is a concentrated source of vitamins A, C, E, and K, folate, magnesium, and potassium. But it is the protein content that raises eyebrows. A 100-gram portion of raw spinach provides just under 3 grams of protein and only 23 calories. That means roughly half of its calories come from protein, and the amino acid profile includes all 9 that humans must obtain from food. Biochemists sometimes call this an almost complete plant protein. In 2024, the Cleveland Clinic reported that a cup of cooked spinach delivers about 5 grams of protein, comparable to an egg white. For anyone trying to reduce meat consumption, those numbers sound promising. But there is a catch. The proteins are locked within a matrix of fiber and oxalic acid, making them harder to digest. Your body cannot extract as much as the raw numbers suggest. And while spinach boasts iron, the form it contains, non-HEM, is poorly absorbed because oxalates bind to the mineral and carry it out of the body. Combine the leaves with vitamin C-rich foods, like lemon or tomatoes, and absorption improves. Cook the leaves and the oxalates drop by up to 87%. What seems straightforward quickly becomes complicated. No episode better illustrates how our beliefs about spinach have been shaped by error than the infamous decimal point mistake. In 1870, the German chemist Erich von Wolff measured the iron content of various vegetables. When he transcribed his findings, he misplaced a decimal, recording that spinach contained 35 milligrams of iron per 100 grams instead of 3.5. For decades, nutrition textbooks and dietary guides repeated the inflated number. When E.C. Cigar created Popeye in 1929, he turned this erroneous statistic into a plot device. The sailor squeezes a can and his biceps balloon. The public loved it. In the United States, spinach consumption rose by a third during the 1930s, and a 1,500-pound statue of Popeye still stands in Crystal City, Texas, celebrating the cartoon's impact on local growers. The truth corrected in the 1930s and reinforced in 1981 when historian Mike Sutton traced the mistake, spread far more slowly than the myth. Even today, many adults who grew up with Popeye believe spinach is an iron powerhouse. It isn't. If the decimal error were the end of the story, this would be a straightforward tale of scientific correction. But the spinach saga gets stranger. Scientists later discovered that spinach contains compounds called phytoecidsteroids. One of them, 20-hydroxyectisone, helps insects molt. In plants, it discourages pests. In humans, early studies hint it may influence muscle protein synthesis. In 2021, a double-blind trial at a university in Spain gave adults over 50 a purified spinach extract known as Spinach, while they followed a resistance training program. After 12 weeks, both the placebo and treatment groups gained strength, but the spinach group improved significantly more. Was it the phytoecidsteroids, nitrates, or another compound? Researchers aren't sure. The supplement's manufacturers hail it as a natural performance enhancer. Regulators call for more evidence. Nevertheless, the findings underline that spinach holds a suite of bioactive chemicals we are only beginning to understand. Could a leaf once linked with a cartoon end up influencing geriatric medicine? Spinach's relationship with human health is not entirely positive. Along with oxalates that interfere with mineral absorption, spinach accumulates nitrates from soil. Those nitrates help lower blood pressure, but in excess or without concurrent vitamin C, they can convert into nitrosamines, compounds linked to cancer. For most people, the benefits outweigh the risks, but people prone to kidney stones may need to limit spinach because the high oxalate content can form crystals. Those on blood-thinning medication must keep vitamin K intake stable, as fluctuations can affect coagulation. And, perhaps most surprisingly, non-organic spinach tops the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list. It tends to carry more pesticide residues than any other produce. Washing helps, but the only way to avoid the worst residues is to buy organic. This is hardly the narrative we hear when someone praises spinach as a superfood. If a health food harbors hidden hazards, what else have we oversimplified? The journey of spinach from seed to salad bowl also carries environmental stories. On the one hand, spinach is remarkably efficient. Its shallow roots mean it requires consistent moisture, but not vast quantities of water. Growing 4 ounces, about a generous handful, of spinach uses around 34 liters of water, far less than producing an ounce of beef. Vertical farming can cut that water use by up to 99%. Spinach's green water footprint, rainwater stored in soil, averages 118 cubic meters per ton, among the lowest of any food crop. Its blue water footprint, irrigation from rivers or groundwater, is a mere 14 cubic meters per ton. That is an astonishingly efficient use of fresh water. But there is a darker side. Spinach's gray water footprint, the water needed to dilute pollutants, is 160 cubic meters per ton, higher than many vegetables. That's because spinach farming relies heavily on nitrogen fertilizers and pesticides. In 2023, the Environmental Working Group found that 75% of non-organic spinach samples contained the neurotoxic insecticide permethrin. DDT residues banned decades ago still appeared on half of tested samples. These chemicals not only increase the crop's carbon footprint, but seep into waterways, harming ecosystems. So, while spinach is land and water efficient, its cultivation so often carries a chemical cost. Is the greenest leaf as green as we think? Historically, spinach has served as a dietary safety net during times of scarcity. During World War II, meat rationing in the United States led government nutritionists to promote spinach as a cheap protein alternative. Farmers responded by planting hundreds of thousands of extra acres. Women's magazines published recipes for creamed spinach, spinach casseroles, and even spinach biscuits. Yet, as soldiers returned and meat supplies normalized, demand plummeted. In the 1970s, nutritionists tried to revive interest by touting spinach's vitamin A and folate content. Decades later, the advent of green smoothies catapulted spinach into grocery carts again. Today, global spinach sales are up 20% from 2019, thanks in part to health trends. But consumption remains uneven. Affluent countries overindulge, while spinach is still a luxury in parts of Africa and South Asia. The crop's rapid growth could, in theory, help address protein deficits in regions where animal products are scarce. In practice, infrastructure, storage, and cultural preferences limit its impact. Drying spinach into powder extends its shelf life and concentrates its protein, but the process requires energy and careful packaging to prevent spoilage. Fresh spinach wilts and spoils quickly, leading to enormous waste in the supply chain. Can we harness spinach's potential without replicating the boom and bust cycles of the past? The science of protein tells us that quality matters as much as quantity. While spinach's amino acids cover the essential 9, they aren't present in the proportions our bodies need for optimal muscle synthesis. Legumes like lentils or edamame contain more protein per serving and more balanced amino acid profiles. A cup of cooked lentils boasts about 17 grams of protein, 3 times as much as a cup of cooked spinach, and the protein is more readily absorbed. Whole soy foods, such as tofu and tempeh, are complete proteins. Nuts and seeds provide healthy fats alongside moderate protein. When dietitians talk about complementary proteins, they mean combining plant foods so that their amino acid profiles balance each other. Rice and beans are a classic example. Spinach pairs beautifully with lentils or chickpeas, not just for taste, but because their amino acids complement one another. This idea is as important today as it was for traditional cooks in Persia who mixed spinach with lamb or pulses. What if solving our protein puzzle isn't about discovering a single super leaf, but about creating harmonious plates from diverse plants? Another subplot in the spinach tale involves its place in diets for healthy aging. For people over 50, muscle mass naturally declines, a condition known as sarcopenia. Adequate protein intake and resistance training slow this process, but older adults often struggle to consume enough protein. Here, spinach could play an adjunct role. Its nitrates expand blood vessels, improving oxygen delivery to muscles, and potentially enhancing exercise performance. Its antioxidants, including lutein and zeaxanthin, protect eyes and brain cells, which may help stave off cognitive decline. Combining spinach with olive oil boosts the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. But spinach alone cannot prevent sarcopenia. People still need higher protein foods and physical activity. The Spanish study with Spizar extract offers an intriguing supplement that could support muscle strength, yet it is not a substitute for balanced nutrition. For a mature audience, the message is clear. Incorporate spinach as part of a varied diet, not as a miracle cure. All these threads, myth, nutrition, agriculture, environment, converge around a simple question. What exactly is spinach's place in our quest for sustainable protein? In one scenario, vertical farms sprout near dense cities, producing pesticide-free spinach year-round, using 99% less water. This spinach could be blended into protein shakes or processed into thylakoid-rich extracts to help regulate appetite and blood sugar. In another scenario, communities focus on locally grown spinach in rotation with legumes, minimizing fertilizer and pesticide use while enriching soil. Organic spinach may cost more but reduces exposure to harmful chemicals. Meanwhile, researchers exploring spinach's phytochemicals might isolate compounds that support muscle health or reduce oxidative stress. Yet there are limits. Even if every arable acre of the world were planted with spinach, global protein needs would not be met. Its low caloric density means one would need to eat absurd quantities to reach daily protein targets. The leaf is a supplement, not a solution. Climax. The turning point in our story arrives when we reconcile enthusiasm with realism. Yes, spinach is a nutrient powerhouse. Yes, it contains all essential amino acids. Yes, its proteins can support muscle maintenance in older adults. But the notion that spinach alone can serve as a protein bomb, equal to meat or legumes, falls apart upon scrutiny. Its protein content, at roughly 3% by weight, pales beside legumes and nuts. Bioavailability is hindered by oxalates. Its non-heme iron needs vitamin C partners. Its cultivation often involves heavy pesticide use. Spinach plays a supporting role in a diet. It cannot carry the whole plot. The key insight is that there is no single food solution to human protein needs or nutritional health. Diversity is the solution. Like any character in a rich novel, spinach is more compelling when part of an ensemble cast. Consider the process of cooking spinach. You start with a mountain of leaves. They fill your largest pot to the brim. Within minutes, the pile collapses into a fraction of its volume. This transformation is a perfect metaphor for how expectations shrink when confronted with reality. The cooked spinach still contains the vitamins, minerals, and proteins, but in a more concentrated form. Similarly, our high hopes for spinach as a protein source shrink to a realistic appreciation of its supporting role. That isn't a disappointment, it's a maturation. Recognizing spinach's strengths, its vitamins, its low calorie count, its nitrates, and its weaknesses allows us to deploy it wisely. What other foods have we placed on pedestals only to discover their feet of clay? The environmental implications of our food choices deserve equal consideration. Choosing spinach grown through hydroponics or aeroponics can drastically reduce water use and avoid soil contamination. Buying organic lowers pesticide exposure and encourages farms to avoid the chemicals found on most conventional spinach. Transport is another factor. Fresh spinach flown across continents carries a larger carbon footprint than locally grown leaves. At the same time, innovations like vacuum-sealed packaging extend shelf life, reducing waste but increasing plastic use. These trade-offs are part of the larger challenge of feeding a global population sustainably. Spinach is a case study in complexity. Efficient yet chemically intensive, nutritious yet perishable. Deciding how to produce and consume it wisely forces us to confront the contradictions inherent in modern agriculture. In a world where every leaf has a footprint, how do we weigh convenience against care for the planet? We have journeyed through ancient Persia, cartoon studios, modern laboratories, and vertical farms. We've seen how a single misprinted decimal point changed eating habits across continents. We've learned that even complete proteins can come with caveats. We've discovered that spinach is both more and less than the myth, more diverse in its benefits, more nuanced in its cultivation, yet less powerful as a standalone protein source than many believe. With this knowledge in hand, what practical lessons remain? Falling action. First, embrace spinach as part of a varied plate. Sauté it in olive oil to unlock vitamins A, E, and K. Then, squeeze fresh lemon over it to enhance iron uptake. Combine it with legumes or nuts to round out the amino acid profile. Second, choose organic or thoroughly wash your spinach to reduce pesticide residues and consider seeking out farmers who grow it without harmful chemicals. Third, support innovations in sustainable farming, such as vertical greenhouses that reduce water use and eliminate the need for pesticides. Fourth, be skeptical of marketing that elevates any single food to miracle status. Diversity and moderation remain the cornerstones of a healthy diet. Finally, share the full story. Many still believe spinach is unrivaled in iron. Correcting that misconception in casual conversation can save someone from an unnecessary supplement or unrealistic diet. Our reflections extend beyond the kitchen. The spinach story demonstrates how easily misinformation spreads and how stubborn it can be. A misplaced decimal fueled decades of public belief and entire marketing campaigns. This should give us pause in an era where nutrition myths proliferate on social media. It reminds us to look for the source of a claim, to ask whether evidence has been updated, and to accept that even widely held beliefs may be wrong. It also shows how culture shapes science. Without a lovable cartoon sailor, the decimal error might have remained a footnote in academic history. Instead, it captured imaginations and sold vegetables. What similar myths circulate today, waiting for our critical eye? Conclusion. As we conclude our 25-minute exploration, a final image lingers, a green leaf in a field glistening with morning dew. It is fragile yet resilient, a product of centuries of cultivation and a symbol of human ingenuity. Spinach will not single-handedly solve the world's protein needs, nor will it give you superhuman strength. What it offers is subtler and perhaps more powerful, a lesson in balance. The leaf teaches us to value diversity in our diets, to question our assumptions, and to recognize that even small errors in science can have outsized effects on society. The next time you add a handful of spinach to your plate, remember that you are not just eating a salad, you are participating in a centuries-long conversation about food, health, and the environment. And as you chew, perhaps ask yourself, if one tiny leaf can carry such a story, what stories are hidden in the rest of our food?